The Council of Zephyrian High Command should have listened to Prophet Kethmore when he warned us about the humans. But no, we were too proud, too confident in our superior technology and our thousand-year dominance over this galaxy. If you strike first, they will never stop. The old sage had croaked through his breathing apparatus, his ancient voice crackling like dying stars. We laughed. We actually laughed at him. Well, nobody's laughing now. My name is Fleet Admiral Yoxkane, and I'm probably the last surviving member of the Zephyrian War Council. I'm floating here in my emergency pod, somewhere between the ruins of our once mighty homeworld and the twisted wreckage of what used to be our grand fleet. The irony isn't lost on me that the species we once considered primitive cave dwellers are now hunting me through space like I'm some kind of pest. Let me tell you how this whole mess started, because someone needs to record this disaster for whatever poor souls find my pod floating in the void. Maybe it will serve as a warning. Though knowing my luck, they will probably make the same mistakes we did at IT began 18 months ago, when our long-range scouts detected unusual energy signature from a small blue planet in the Outer Rim territories. The third planet from a yellow star, populated by bipedal mammals who called themselves humans. Our intelligence reports were, frankly, insulting to their species. Primitive technology, the reports said, barely achieved space flight. No significant military threat. Captain Nexvorth, our chief scout, had returned from his reconnaissance mission with what he called amusing footage of human warfare. We gathered in the Grand Chamber to watch these primitive creatures fight each other with crude projectile weapons and explosive devices. The footage showed conflict across their planet, humans killing humans with ruthless efficiency. Look at them, Nexvorth had said, his mandibles clicking with amusement. They cannot even unite their own species. They fight over resources, territory, ideology. These creatures are their own worst enemy. High Counselor Zephraka had been particularly entertained. They use chemical explosives and metal projectiles. How delightfully primitive. Our shield technology could deflect their entire arsenal without strain. That's when Prophet Kethmore had wheezed his warning from the shadows of the chamber. The ancient Zephyrian was over 300 years old, his carapace scarred from dozens of conflicts across the galaxy. He'd witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, the birth and death of entire species. When he spoke, his words carried the weight of centuries. Do not underestimate them, he had warned, his 6 eyes glowing dimly in the chamber's blue light. I have seen species like this before. They do not fight wars the way we do. They do not follow our codes of honor. If you strike first, they will never stop. Never. They will come for you with a fury you cannot comprehend. The council had erupted in laughter. Even I had chuckled, though I should have known better. Kethmore had never been wrong about anything in his long life. Never. Old fool, Zephraka had sneered. These humans barely have orbital capabilities. Their largest weapons could not even scratch our smallest scout ship. They are nothing more than aggressive animals. Kethmore's response still haunts me. That, he had whispered, is exactly what makes them dangerous. But we didn't listen. Oh, how I wish we had listened. The decision to invade Earth was made not out of necessity, but out of boredom. The Zephyrian Empire had been at peace for nearly 50 years. Our military was restless, our generals eager to flex their muscles against a worthy opponent. The humans seemed like perfect practice targets, a way to test our new weapon systems and give our troops some combat experience. The plan was simple and, we thought, foolproof. A swift strike against their major population centers, followed by occupation and assimilation. Standard Imperial protocol. We'd done it dozens of times to dozens of species across the galaxy. Clean, efficient, minimal casualties on our side. 3 battle groups. 15,000 ships. 2 million of our finest warriors. Against a species that had just barely managed to put a few primitive stations in orbit around their planet. The first wave hit Earth's major cities simultaneously. New Tokyo, New London, New Washington, Beijing Complex, Mumbai Metroplex. Our plasma cannons reduced their primitive skyscrapers to molten slag in seconds. Their crude aircraft fell from the sky like burning insects. Their ground forces scattered like frightened prey animals. It was supposed to be over in hours. It took us exactly 4 hours and 37 minutes to realize we had made the biggest mistake in Zephyrian history. The humans didn't surrender. They didn't flee. They didn't even seem particularly surprised by our attack. Instead, they did something that no species in our experience had ever done when faced with superior force. They got angry. Really, really angry. The first sign that something was wrong came from Captain Tex Morden, commanding the assault on the North American continent. His transmission crackled through our communication grid, filled with static and what sounded suspiciously like panic. "High Command, this is Tex Morden. We have a situation down here. The humans are not responding as expected." "Explain." I had demanded from my command ship, the Stellar Devastator. "Sir, they are not running. They're not hiding. They are." There was a pause, filled with the sound of explosions and weapons fire. "They're attacking us. With everything they have. I have never seen anything like it." I frowned at the communication console. "Captain, you are equipped with energy shields and plasma weapons. They have chemical explosives and metal projectiles. How exactly are primitive weapons threatening your forces?" Another pause. Then Tex Morden's voice returned, tinged with something I'd never heard from him before. "Fear. Sir, they're not using their military weapons against us. They're using everything. Civilian vehicles loaded with explosives. Industrial machinery converted into projectile launchers. They have turned their entire infrastructure into weapons. And sir, they're not trying to win. They're trying to hurt us as much as possible before they die." That should have been our first clue. But we were still thinking like civilized beings, still operating under the assumption that the humans would eventually see reason and surrender. And we were very, very wrong. The second clue came from the orbital battle group positioned above Earth's largest ocean. Admiral Pex Rothhack commanded 12 heavy cruisers and 50 fighter squadrons. His mission was simple: destroy any human space-based assets and prevent escape attempts. The humans had exactly 43 spacecraft in orbit. Primitive things, barely more than metal tubes with chemical rockets. Our fighter squadrons destroyed them in the first 10 minutes of the conflict. That's when the submarines surfaced. Now, I know what you were thinking. Submarines are underwater vessels. They pose no threat to spacecraft in orbit. You'd be absolutely correct under normal circumstances. But humans, as we learned that day, don't believe in normal circumstances. "High Command, Admiral Pex Rothhack's transmission was barely audible over the sound of alarms. The humans are launching projectiles from the ocean's surface. Primitive ballistic missiles with chemical warheads." I actually laughed. "Admiral, our shield technology can deflect asteroid impacts. Surely you are not concerned about primitive chemical explosives." "Sir," the Admiral's voice was strained. "They're not trying to penetrate our shields. They're launching hundreds of them. Thousands. Our shield generators are overheating from the constant impacts. And sir, they're not stopping." The third clue should have sent us running. It came from the ground assault teams led by General Wex Gorlak, our most experienced combat commander. He was leading the occupation of what the humans called Europe, a collection of small nation-states that should have fallen within hours. "High Command, this is General Wex Gorlak. I need immediate reinforcements." "General," I responded, "you have 50,000 troops equipped with the finest weapons in the galaxy. How many reinforcements could you possibly need against primitive humans?" "All of them, sir. All of them." The channel filled with the sound of explosions, screams, and weapons fire. When the general's voice returned, it was barely a whisper. "Sir, they're not fighting like any species we have encountered. They don't retreat when faced with superior force. They don't surrender when defeat is certain. They just keep coming. We destroyed their military, and civilians picked up weapons. We destroyed their weapons factories, and they started making bombs in their homes. We targeted their leaders, and new ones appeared immediately." There was a long pause before he continued. "Sir, I just watched a human female, injured and bleeding, charge one of our battle mechs with nothing but a chemical explosive strapped to her chest. She was laughing, sir, laughing as she died. That's when Prophet Kethmore's words began to echo in my mind. If you strike first, they will never stop. The fourth clue was the one that made me realize we weren't fighting a war anymore. We were fighting for our survival. That IT came from Captain Yex Northall, our intelligence specialist. His mission was to infiltrate human communication networks and gather strategic information. What he found was not military intelligence or government communications. High Command, his voice was shaking. You need to hear this. The transmission he sent chilled my blood. It was a collection of human communications from across their planet. Not government broadcasts or military orders, but messages between ordinary civilians. They killed my children, one voice said in their primitive language, which our translation systems rendered into Zephyrian. Good. Now I don't have to worry about protecting them. Now I can focus on killing as many of these aliens as possible. The school is gone, another voice reported. Doesn't matter. Turn the rubble into shrapnel. Every piece of concrete is now a weapon. We can't win, a third voice acknowledged. So what? Make them pay for every meter. Make them remember this planet as the one that bit back. But it was the final transmission that made me understand the true scope of our mistake. This is General Patricia Morrison, United Earth Defense Command, broadcasting on all frequencies. To any alien forces listening, you want a war. You have got one. But understand this. You have awakened something in humanity that we ourselves fear. You have reminded us why we spent millennia fighting each other. You have given us a common enemy, a shared purpose, a reason to unleash everything we have learned from thousands of years of warfare. There was a pause, and when the human general continued, her voice carried a promise that made my scales itch. We are not going to defeat you. We know that. Your technology is superior, your numbers overwhelming. But we're going to hurt you. We're going to make you bleed. We're going to teach you that attacking humanity comes with a price that no species should be willing to pay. The transmission ended with words that still give me nightmares. You wanted to see what humans do to each other? Now you get to see what we do to our enemies. Within 6 hours of our initial attack, the humans had done something unprecedented in galactic warfare. They had weaponized their entire civilization. Every factory, every vehicle, every building, every piece of technology on their planet had been converted into an instrument of war. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was what they did next. They started hunting us, not defending against us, not trying to repel our invasion. Hunting us, like predators stalking prey through a forest. Our troops would secure a position, establish a perimeter, and begin fortification procedures. Standard military doctrine. Within hours, humans would begin appearing in places they shouldn't be able to reach, using weapons they shouldn't be able to make, employing tactics that violated every principle of civilized warfare. They dug tunnels through solid rock. They poisoned water supplies. They turned children's toys into explosive devices. They used the dead bodies of their own species as booby traps, and they never, ever stopped coming. Prophet Kethmore had been right. We had struck first, and now they would never stop. The humans had shown us exactly what millennia of warfare against their own species had taught them. How to fight dirty. How to fight without honor. How to fight like their lives depended on it. Because as we were about to learn, they did. The turning point came 72 hours after our invasion began. That's when the humans stopped playing defense and started their counterattack. Not against our ground forces, mind you. They went straight for our fleet that I was aboard the Stellar Devastator, safely positioned in high orbit, when Captain Rex Volan's frantic transmission reached us from the moon's surface. We had established a forward base there, thinking it would give us a strategic advantage and a safe staging area. High Command, the humans are on the moon. Repeat, humans are on the lunar surface. I stared at the communication console in disbelief. Captain, that's impossible. The humans don't have faster-than-light travel. Their primitive rockets take days to reach their moon. Sir, I don't care what they are supposed to have. They are here, and they are. The transmission dissolved into static, punctuated by the unmistakable sound of plasma weapons and explosions. Our long-range sensors confirmed what should have been impossible. Human spacecraft, dozens of them, were emerging from behind the moon's far side. Not the primitive chemical rockets we'd observed earlier, but sleek, advanced vessels that moved with purpose and precision. How? I demanded of my intelligence officer, Lieutenant Kexthymel. How did they develop faster-than-light capability in 3 days? The lieutenant's mandibles clicked nervously. Sir, they didn't develop it. They already had it. Our initial intelligence was incomplete. Incomplete. That was putting it mildly. As we soon discovered, the humans had been far more advanced than we realized. They had simply kept their best technology hidden, scattered across secret facilities and classified programs. When we attacked, they activated everything at once. The human fleet that emerged from Luna Shadow wasn't composed of military vessels. At least, not originally. We identified converted civilian transports, mining ships, even what appeared to be garbage collection vessels. All of them bristling with weapons that definitely hadn't been there during our initial reconnaissance. Sir, my tactical officer reported, the human vessels are not responding to our hailing frequencies. They are what, Lieutenant? They're not trying to communicate, sir. They're broadcasting something else. Music, I think. The sounds that filled our bridge were unlike anything in Zephyrian culture. Harsh, driving rhythms punctuated by what I can only describe as organized chaos. Human war songs, as we later learned. They were broadcasting their intent to fight, not with words, but with the primal sounds of their warrior culture. The first human ship to engage us was a converted or hauler called the Iron Maiden. According to our sensors, it should have been defenseless against our heavy cruiser Devastation's Edge. Captain Mex Corval commanded that ship, and his confidence was absolute. High command, engaging primitive vessel. This should be over quickly. It was over quickly, just not the way Captain Mex Corval expected. The Iron Maiden didn't try to outmaneuver our cruiser or match it weapon for weapon. Instead, it did something no civilized species would ever consider in space combat, that IT rammed us. Not a glancing blow or a desperate last-ditch maneuver. A calculated, deliberate collision at maximum velocity. The human ship struck the Devastation's Edge amidships, and both vessels disappeared in a brilliant explosion that lit up the space between Earth and its moon. Suicide attack, my tactical officer whispered. They destroyed their own ship to kill ours. But that wasn't the end of it. As the explosion cleared, we detected something that made my blood run cold. Escape pods. Dozens of them, launched from the Iron Maiden in the seconds before impact. The humans had planned the collision, evacuated their crew, and used their escape pods as boarding vessels. Sir, my communications officer reported, we are receiving distress calls from the Crimson Talon. They report human boarding parties. The humans from the Iron Maiden somehow survived the explosion and transferred to nearby vessels. I watched in horrified fascination as the same scenario played out across the battle space. Human ships would ram our vessels. Their crews would transfer to our ships during the confusion, and then those humans would begin systematically destroying our fleet from within. They weren't trying to capture our technology or take prisoners. They were saboteurs, pure and simple. Every human boarding party had one mission: cause maximum damage before dying. Sir, my science officer, Dr. Peck Santhal, interrupted my thoughts. I have been analyzing the human combat patterns. Their behavior makes no strategic sense. Explain. They are not trying to win this battle, sir. They are gathering intelligence. Every ship they board, every system they infiltrate, they are learning about our technology, our capabilities, our weaknesses. They are treating this entire engagement as a reconnaissance mission. The implications hit me like a plasma bolt to the brain. They are preparing for something bigger. Yes, sir, much bigger. That's when the second wave of human ships appeared. Not from a moon this time, but from Earth itself. Hundreds of vessels, launching simultaneously from every continent on the planet. Our orbital sensors went mad, trying to track them all. Sir, my tactical officer's voice cracked. They are not following ballistic trajectories. These ships are maneuvering independently. They have faster-than-light drives. I stared at the tactical display in growing horror. Every red dot represented a human vessel, and there were so many red dots that the display looked like it had contracted some kind of electronic disease. How many? I asked. Over 3,000 vessels detected and climbing, sir. They're still launching. 3,000 ships. In less than 4 days, the humans had assembled a fleet 3 times the size of our invasion force. Ships that shouldn't exist, using technology they shouldn't possess, crewed by beings who apparently didn't understand the concept of self-preservation. The human admiral who contacted us next was someone I will never forget. Her name was Rebecca Stone, and she spoke with the calm authority of someone who held all the cards in a game we didn't even know we were playing. Zephyrian Fleet, this is Admiral Rebecca Stone, United Earth Defense Command. You have 90 seconds to begin withdrawal from Earth space. I activated our response channel. Human Admiral, you are outnumbered and outgunned. Your primitive vessels pose no threat to the Zephyrian Imperial Navy. Her laughter was cold enough to freeze plasma. Admiral, we have been monitoring your communications since you arrived. We know your fleet composition, your weapon capabilities, and your tactical doctrine. More importantly, we have been tracking your supply lines. Supply lines. In our arrogance, we had never considered that the humans might target our logistics network. Our supply depots, fuel stations, and communication relays were scattered across a dozen star systems, lightly defended and considered safe from primitive attack. Impossible, I replied. Your species lacks faster-than-light travel. Admiral Stone corrected. We had lacked faster-than-light travel. Amazing what you can accomplish when your entire species is suddenly motivated by the same goal. We have been reverse engineering your technology since your scouts first entered our system 6 months ago. 6 months. They had known we were coming for 6 months and had used that time to prepare. While we were planning our glorious conquest, they were planning our destruction. Your 90 seconds are up, Admiral Stone announced. Since you have chosen to remain, let me explain what's going to happen next. We are going to demonstrate why attacking humanity was the worst decision your species has ever made. The human fleet spread out in a formation I'd never seen before. Not the traditional battle lines or defensive clusters taught in every military academy. This was something organic, predatory, like a pack of hunters surrounding wounded prey. All human vessels. Admiral Stone's voice carried across our communication channels. Execute Protocol Omega. I will spare you the technical details of what happened next, mostly because I still don't fully understand it. The human ships began moving in ways that violated everything we knew about space combat. They used our own sensor networks against us, turning our advantage in detection into a liability. They coordinated attacks across impossible distances, as if their entire fleet was controlled by a single mind. But the truly terrifying part wasn't their tactics or their technology. It was their absolute commitment to victory at any cost. When a human vessel Revenge of Terra was crippled by plasma fire from our dreadnought, its crew didn't abandon ship. Instead, they overloaded their fusion reactor and guided their dying ship into our ammunition depot. The explosion was visible from 3 star systems away. When a human cruiser, Never Forget, found itself surrounded by 5 of our heavy destroyers, it didn't surrender. It broadcast a message on all frequencies. For every human child you killed, we will take 10 of your ships. Then it self-destructed, taking 4 of our destroyers with it in a chain reaction of secondary explosions. Ship after ship, the humans traded their lives for ours, but not in equal measure. Their willingness to die seemed to multiply their effectiveness exponentially. Every human loss cost us dearly, while every Zephyrian loss seemed to make the humans fight harder. Sir, my communications officer interrupted my horrified observations. We are receiving priority transmissions from High Command. Our supply bases in the Kepler system are under attack. The Vega Fuel Depot has gone dark. The Centauri communication relay has been destroyed. The humans weren't just attacking our fleet. They were systematically dismantling our entire logistical network across dozens of star systems. While we were focused on the battle above Earth, they had sent strike teams across the galaxy to cut our supply lines. How? I demanded. How did they locate classified military installations across 12 sectors? Sir, Dr. Peck Santhal replied quietly. I believe they have been monitoring our communications since their first contact with our scout ships. They have had months to identify and target every aspect of our military infrastructure. Months. While we were congratulating ourselves on discovering a primitive species, they were planning the systematic destruction of our empire. That's when Admiral Stone contacted us again. Zephyrian Admiral, your supply lines are cut, your fleet is surrounded, and your homeworld is now within range of our long-range strike capabilities. Impossible, I replied, though my confidence was rapidly evaporating. Our homeworld is 50 light-years from here, protected by the most advanced defensive systems in the galaxy. Was protected, Admiral Stone corrected. Your defensive satellites were taken offline 14 minutes ago by infiltration teams we deployed 6 weeks ago. Your orbital defense platforms are currently being converted into weapons aimed at your own planet. The communication channel filled with the sound of explosions and emergency broadcasts in the Zephyrian language. Our own defensive systems were being turned against us. This is your final warning, Admiral Stone continued. Withdraw all Zephyrian forces from human space immediately, or we will demonstrate exactly what happens when you threaten the survival of our species. I looked around my bridge at the faces of my officers. Fear, confusion, and dawning realization that we were not the superior force we had believed ourselves to be. The humans had outplanned, outmaneuvered, and outfought us at every turn. Admiral Stone, I finally replied, the Zephyrian Empire accepts your terms. We will withdraw immediately. No, she replied simply. You misunderstand. Those terms expired when you killed our civilians. Now you get to learn what retribution means in human language. The final phase of the battle lasted 6 hours. 6 hours of systematic destruction as the human fleet methodically eliminated every Zephyrian vessel in their space. They didn't just defeat us, they erased us, but they didn't kill everyone. Oh no, that would have been too merciful. They left survivors, witnesses, people like me who could return to the Zephyrian Empire and tell everyone what happens when you attack humanity. As my emergency pod drifts through space, I can see the ruins of Earth in the distance. The planet bears the scars of our attack, but it's still alive, still inhabited. The humans are already rebuilding, already preparing for whatever threat might come next. Prophet Kethmore was right. If you strike first, they will never stop. The humans won't be content with defending themselves now. They know there are hostile species in the galaxy, and they're going to do something about IT.M while long-range sensors are picking up massive energy signatures from a solar system. Construction on a scale that defies comprehension. The humans are building something big, something that will carry their war beyond their own system. They're coming for us. All of us. Every species that might threaten them. Every empire that might consider humanity a target. They're going to hunt us down with the same ruthless efficiency they used to defeat our invasion. And the truly terrifying part? They're going to enjoy it. The last transmission I received before my pod's communication array failed was a broadcast from Earth, transmitted on all frequencies across the galaxy. This is humanity. We tried peace. You chose war. Now you get to live with the consequences. We are coming. We are angry. And we will never, ever stop. Prophet Kethmore tried to warn us. He knew what we were awakening when we attacked that small blue planet. He understood that some species are dangerous, not because of their technology or their numbers, but because of what they become when threatened. The humans spent thousands of years learning how to wage war against themselves. They perfected the art of conflict, refined the science of destruction, and mastered the psychology of violence. And then we gave them a reason to turn all of that expertise against the US, that if anyone finds this pod, if anyone receives this message, learn from our mistake. There are species in this galaxy that should be left alone, not because they are too strong to defeat, but because defeating them is impossible once they decide you are their enemy. Humanity is one of those species that we struck first. Now, they will never stop. The prophet was right.